I was born in Boston into a family of musicians, and from the beginning, my life ran on practice, rehearsal, and the quiet discipline of daily work. I learned breath control, phrasing, and the way a single note can carry a feeling if you treat it with respect. That training shaped me long before I knew how much I would need it. I thought music was the center. I didn't know it was also a bridge. In 2010, I discovered Arabic music. I didn't speak Arabic. I didn't understand the words. I learned with my ears instead of a dictionary. I slowed down recordings and repeated syllables until my mouth could carry the sounds with precision. I practiced maqamat the way I practiced scales growing up, patiently, carefully, again and again. I paid attention to timing, ornamentation, and restraint. When a phrase refused to sit right, I didn't argue with it. I tried again until it clicked. I did not pretend to know what each lyric meant. I trusted the feeling that kept bringing me back. That feeling carried me further than I expected. Rehearsal changed from duty to desire. I learned one classic, then another, then another. I didn't have a grand plan. I had a pull. I followed it. In 2013, I stepped onto the stage of Arab's Got Talent and chose to sing Ba'id Anak by Kulthum. I focused on delivery, breath, and honesty to the song. The reaction was strong. I advanced, sang again, and reached the final. I finished second. That result opened doors and opened questions. Some people were convinced I was hiding Arab roots. Others said no one could sing like that without being native. I answered plainly. I was born in Boston to American parents. I didn't speak Arabic at the time. I learned by ear. What moved me first was not the literal meaning, but the emotion in the sound. Another thread of my life had already begun. In 2012, I traveled to Morocco. I was a visitor, attentive and curious, moving through streets and marketplaces, listening to a rhythm of life that was new to me. 5 times a day, I heard the call to prayer. It reached me wherever I was. Morning light, crowded afternoon, quiet night. It was steady, unembarrassed, and completely uninterested in approval. It didn't argue, it announced. I didn't know the words yet, but I knew what consistency felt like. I started asking questions. What do the words mean? Why these times? What is this call inviting people to do and to become? I didn't chase arguments online or try to win debates. I read. I visited mosques respectfully. I spoke to people whose faith showed up as reliability. Prayer on time, promises kept, kindness offered without a spotlight. I compared what I was learning to what I already understood from music. Discipline, patience, intention, and I saw a pattern I could trust. There was no single dramatic moment that changed me all at once. There were many steady moments that added up. I learned, I reflected, I accepted. Step by step, I reached certainty that Islam is true. I pronounced the shahada. When I shared my conversion, stories sprang up around it. Some people decided it must have been pressure from a relationship. Others assumed it was a career move or a phase. I answered clearly. A believing sister guided me with knowledge and patience. My decision formed in private, in study and prayer, before it appeared in public. It wasn't forced by my husband or by an audience. It was conviction. In Morocco, I met Saeed. Our conversations were simple and honest. We got engaged and married. We built a home. Our daughter, Kamar, was born. Parenthood rearranged everything. The calendar, the sleep, the priorities. Faith became not just a belief, but a structure that held our days in place. I learned to keep plans light and principles firm. Prayer times stopped being reminders and started being anchors. After I gave birth, I stepped away from music. I believed that was the right thing to do. I didn't make a public announcement, I simply stopped. For 3 years I studied. I read, asked, listened, and learned the differences of opinion. I wasn't looking for permission to do what I wanted. I was looking for clarity about what was right. I learned to sit with questions until I could carry the answers with a clear conscience. During that time, I drew close to the Qur'an. I listened to recitation daily and found myself returning again and again to the voice of Sheikh Muhammad Siddiq al-Minshawi. His pace was measured, his articulation clear, his tone humble. I learned something from that voice beyond melody. The Qur'an doesn't ask for performance, it asks for service. Surah Yusuf settled in my heart with its lessons about patience in hardship, dignity under pressure, and trust in divine timing. The Qur'an changed my measures for success and failure. It taught me that a quiet, sincere act can weigh more than a loud achievement. As my understanding grew, I reassessed music. I didn't flip a switch, I moved carefully. I asked what purpose my voice could serve. I set boundaries I could keep honestly. I returned to singing with new intentions and limits. I prioritized recitation and permissible nasheed. I chose pieces that honored faith, family, and respect for listeners. I accepted that applause is not evidence. Consistency is. Online, people continued to argue about my background, my sincerity, and my motives. I answered what required clarity and left the rest. Over time, consistency became my reply. Meanwhile, my Arabic improved, first as sounds, then as words I could use in conversation, then as texts I could read and teach to my daughter. What began as imitation became understanding. I learned to hold multiple parts of myself without conflict. I didn't become Arab. I didn't stop being American. I became a Muslim who carries love for both places. Identity stopped feeling like a costume and started feeling like a set of commitments you keep when no one is looking. My life turned simple on purpose. I pray on time. I study. I care for my family. I practice my craft within the limits I accept. When I fall short, I correct myself. I try again. Looking back, music gave me valuable tools. Attention to detail, patience under pressure, presence on a stage. Islam gave me direction. It taught me why to use what I have and where to stop. It taught me that intention is the difference between noise and benefit. A prayer kept on time, a word that protects someone's honor, a promise fulfilled, these became my measures for a good day. When I recite the Qur'an, I listen for the balance I first heard in al-Minshawi's delivery, clarity, steadiness, humility, and I let it recalibrate my own heart. When I sing an old classic, I carry it with respect. I don't use it as a vehicle for display. I treat it as a trust to be delivered carefully. I try to let purpose choose the form. People still ask how I sang in a language I didn't understand. The answer is training and attention. People ask how I entered a faith I once knew nothing about. The answer is study and sincerity. I didn't stumble into belief by accident. I asked honest questions, learned from reliable sources, and accepted correction. I didn't turn my faith into a brand. I built habits around it. To anyone standing at the edge of questions they can't yet name, I offer this: don't rush and don't stall. Learn enough to move, then move. Give your decisions time to grow roots. Let your heart and mind work together. If you find truth, let it change your schedule. Put it in your calendar before you put it on your lips. Faith is not an accessory. It is a structure that holds you steady when circumstances shake. I'm grateful for the path that brought me here. I'm grateful for teachers who corrected me gently and friends who reminded me of prayer without judgment. I'm grateful for a family that supports a life built around worship and work rather than appearances. I'm grateful that my daughter hears both English and Arabic at home and learns that belonging to more than one world is not a conflict, but a gift. If you listen to my earliest recordings, you'll hear precision leading understanding. If you listen now, I hope you hear understanding guiding precision. If you met me on a stage years ago, you met a singer finding her way. If you meet me today, I hope you meet a Muslim woman using her voice with intention and accepting the limits that protect that intention. I don't claim perfection, I claim effort. I don't claim to have answers for everyone. I share what answered me. I don't try to argue anyone into faith. I invite with what I have learned. Learn, listen, act, and be patient. Guidance arrives in ways you can't control and at times you don't schedule. Do your part and trust the one who never misses the appointed time. My name hasn't changed and my passport hasn't changed, but my direction has. I face the Qibla. I keep my prayers. I try to let gratitude shape my tone, whether I'm reciting or singing. I carry Boston in my story and Morocco in my home. I don't see them as opposites that demand a choice. I see them as two classrooms that taught me different lessons I can hold at once. From practice rooms to a televised stage, from curiosity to conviction, from melodies I memorized to words I recite. My path moved the same way the best songs do, measure by measure, true to the line. I didn't write the ending in advance. I walked it one step at a time toward what was true. The call to prayer still reaches me 5 times a day. I heard it before I understood it. I understand it now. I once treated music as my center. I now treat faith as my center and let music stand where it serves. That is the story I live.